Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is another book. This time it is Dabi in the Spotlight, but it's Dabi with a difference. When I was on Wattpad, I saw so many different Dabi books, but they were all fairly similar in format, so I wanted to do something that was completely different to the rest. So I decided to do a crossover with Dabi, but in the Haikyuu world, and make it so that this happened before Kuro became captain of the Nekoma Boys volleyball team. Yep, in this book, Dabi is quirkless, but still has the same look and still has a bit of a tragic backstory. His personality is probably a little more like Kohei Todoroki, but he attends Nekoma High and is the captain of the volleyball team. This book really, truly, and honestly has no direction. It's just a very basic story that follows Yin and Dabi and their crackhead adventures together through high school and beyond. Now, because this book has a number of very detailed scenes, I will have to cut a lot out. So this book has 200 chapters all up, but if we cut out the questionable scenes, it'll probably only end up being like 100. One complaint that I seem to get a lot is that my chapters aren't long enough. So in this one, I'll be combining chapters to make it a bit longer. So hopefully that appeases those who wanted longer chapters. You know who you are. Anyway, this is just a really weird book with zero direction, so I hope you enjoy it, but if you don't, well, I don't blame you at all. So, with that super exciting introduction, I hope you enjoy Chance Ball, Dabi X Female Listener. This is Chapter 1 of Chance Ball, and this one is titled, Who's That Girl? Kuro, who's that? Dabi asked his vice captain, while he nodded towards you. You had just arrived at your new high school, Nekoma High, having just transferred in midway through the second last year of school. You found it a little bit daunting. It was a massive school, and you were well and truly lost. I swear I've been past this classroom before. You thought as you stopped and scowled heavily, looking down at the school map in your hand for the 10th time in 3 minutes. Oh, her, Kuro commented casually, looking towards where Dabi had nodded. She's the new libero for the girls' volleyball team. Dabi purred. She's cute. She's got good taste in sports, he added with a smirk. Well, best I go and make introductions. He pushed off the locker and strolled casually towards you with his hands in his pockets. Really, Dabi? Kuro sighed, rolling his eyes as he watched his teammate and captain stroll towards you. He was used to Dabi chasing any girl who stood still long enough to be flirted with, but this poor, unsuspecting new girl, now, before she even had a chance to find her own classroom? He shook his head and closed his locker, heading off to his next class. Hey, babe. Dabi greeted in a low tone as he pulled up in front of you. You looked up. Your breath caught in your throat as your eyes met his turquoise ones. He gave you a crooked smile and winked. You need some help? He asked coyly. Yeah, actually, I'm looking for Class 1C, you said in a dead tone as you looked back down at your map. It'll cost you, Dabi said seductively. Your eyes shot back up and met his. Pardon? I said it'll cost you, Dabi repeated with a sly smile. Like, what do you mean it'll cost me? You want me to pay you? You asked, your patience running thin. No. I'll tell you where Class 1C is, but it'll cost you your name and your number, he replied, giving you a wink and a quick eyebrow raise. You scowled, and then you let your expression turn more seductive. Leaning forwards, you gently took Dabi's tie in your hand and pulled him down to your level. He liked your bold move and gave you a low chuckle and sly grin as he was pulled down. You stared intently into his eyes for a moment, then leaned past his face to his ear. I don't think you could handle me, you uttered provocatively, before giving him a sharp shove and marching past him. Oh, that was hot as hell, Dabi thought, as he took a step back to stop himself from falling over. He was quite aroused by the way you had rejected him. The name's Dabi, he called out after you. You flicked him the middle finger over your shoulder as you walked on, not even bothering to look back. Damn, I think I'm in love, Dabi thought with a smug smile as he watched you walk down the hallway. You finally found your classroom. Ugh, no thanks to hotshot asshole in the hallway. What was his name again? Danny Derby Dummy, you thought, shaking your head with annoyance. As the day came to a close, you grabbed your map out again to try and locate the school gymnasium. You needed to get to your first volleyball practice. After asking a few people to point you in the right direction, you found yourself in front of 2 sliding doors, the word gymnasium written on the frame overhead. Well, this has got to be it then? You pushed the door open and grinned at the sight of volleyballs flying back and forth over the net as it met your eyes. This place felt like home. You'd been playing volleyball for as long as you could remember. Your dad had been the one to introduce you to it, and the minute he had placed a volleyball in your hands, you never looked back. You entered the gym and walked around the outside of the court, making her way over to a man who looked like the coach. Hi, my name's Yin Lin. It's my first day here. I'm supposed to be on the volleyball team," you said apprehensively. The man looked at you and then pointed to a box. "Grab a uniform and change. We start drills in 10 minutes. "Yes, sir," you replied hastily as you grabbed a uniform. After changing, you started doing some stretches while you waited for your turn on the court. As you pulled your heel up to your backside, your eyes roamed around the gym, taking everyone and everything in. There was a seated section upstairs in the gym for spectators to watch from, and as you looked up, your gaze was met by a pair of turquoise eyes. You frowned when you registered who those eyes belonged to. Oh, what is he doing here? Dabi was draped casually over the rails watching you stretch. He blew you a kiss and threw you a peace sign before you stuck your tongue out and looked away. Ugh, he's so full of himself. You groaned inwardly, deciding to just ignore him. The coach called you over and introduced you to the other girls on the team, and then you all started with a few drills, receiving balls from serves and practicing running, jumping and spiking. Your position of expertise was called libero. The libero was someone who was good at receiving and retrieving balls. You were the best at defense and had a good reputation. That's why you had ended up at Nekoma. The coaches from Nekoma had headhunted you from when you were in primary school, and after years of chasing you, you had finally caved and decided to switch schools to them. A practice match started, and Dabi watched you intently. You moved well and could read the opponents on the opposite side of the court very well, moving to a good position even before they had time to return the ball to your side of the net. He was impressed. Dabi knew a good player when he saw one. He was the captain of the boys' volleyball team after all, and was pretty good himself. You didn't know that yet though, because you hadn't seen him play, but he was determined to show off for you, the first chance that he got. There was no way in hell he was going to pass up the opportunity to try and catch your eye. Dabi was a handsome guy. Tall, suave, and a ton of facial piercings, and although he had some pretty severe scarring across his jawline, chest and arms, it almost added to his charm. His confidence was something else though, easily overshadowing any of his insecurities, and his smooth talking always had him in good stead with the girls. Dabi could get any girl he wanted. No one had ever turned him down, and as you probably well imagined, he got bored easily because of it. He loved the chase, but no one gave him a good enough run for his money. All he had to do was be a bit flirtatious and girls would fall at his feet. That is, everyone except you, of course. "I'll get her, just wait," he thought, while he watched you successfully to return another ball. Just then the whistle blew and the team switched sides on the court. Unfortunately, this meant that Dabi was posted up in the stands right over your opponents, on the opposite side to where you were, and he gave you a wave and a seductive smile when he saw you looking at him. You frowned in displeasure and refocused on the game. He chuckled to himself. "I like this one. She's a little harder to get." Before long the match finished, and you headed to the change rooms to change and head home. As you left the gym, you made small chat with the girls on the team and complimented them on their skill set. All of you walking out together, heading for the school gates. "Oh, look who's here," one girl cooed. You looked up to see who she was referring to and saw Dabi casually leaning against the gates with his hands in pockets, watching you all walk towards him. "Oh, he's so hot," another girl commented dreamily. You rolled your eyes and moved to the centre of the group to hide from his searching eyes. "Hey, sexy," he called out as the group of girls got closer. You looked down and avoided eye contact. "Oh, please mean someone else, please mean someone else." A few girls giggled nervously, hoping he was talking to them. "Yo, libero," he called again. Your face immediately turned red as all the girls turned their heads to gawk at you. "He's talking to you," one girl hissed, shoving you out of the group towards him. "Oh man, seriously?" You groaned internally, shooting him a dirty look. "Whoa, Tiger. I don't mean no harm," he said with a smirk as he pushed off the wall and strode towards you, pulling his hands from his pockets and holding them up defensively. The rest of the girls kept walking. "Ugh, great. There goes my cover. Now how am I supposed to get away from him?" you thought, watching the girls walk away. "Those are some pretty impressive moves back there," Dabi said, bringing your attention back to him. "Oh, thanks," you mumbled blandly, returning your gaze to the now distant pack of girls. "Can I walk you home?" Dabi asked. "No thanks, I'm not going home," you lied. "Bye." You turned and sprinted away. You heard him call something out after you, but you ignored it. There was no way in hell you were going to stop now. You got home and flopped down onto your bed. "Oh man, what a first day," you thought as your mind recapped everything that had happened in volleyball practice. You lay there and reanalyzed your skills. The image of Dabi watching you occasionally crossed your mind. "Man, what's up with that guy? Why is he so obsessed with me?" you thought as you rolled over and fell asleep. exhausted from the day's events. You had managed to avoid Dabi all the next day, expertly slipping past him at the gates in the morning as he was engaged in a flirtatious conversation with another girl, and keeping away from him during lunch break. Now you were headed to the gymnasium. Today was looking to be a good day. You opened the doors to the gym and were doubly pleased to see the spectators' stand was empty. Yes, maybe he's given up on me, you thought with glee. You were looking forward to a Dabi-free afternoon of volleyball. Practice went smoothly, and you got in some good defence moves, much to the coach's delight. You had just finished up and had walked out of the gym when you heard voices and the squeaking of shoes coming from another door around the side of the gym. Curiosity getting the better of you, you sauntered over to take a look. It was the boys' volleyball team, and they were in the middle of a heated match. You ducked out of view as you recognised Dabi, but popped your head back out to see if he was any good. I didn't know he played volleyball, you thought, watching him spike a few good sets. He had a powerful swing and a whole heap of control. He almost looked cool. Kuro, another player, looked over and saw you watching from the door. Oi, he whispered, turning his head the other way to address Dabi, who was standing next to him on the court. Is she here for you? Dabi looked past Kuro and saw you. You hit again, but he chuckled and smiled. I'm not sure, he said to Kuro. I'm going to put on a show for her. Kuro rolled his eyes. Seriously, man, can you, chill for 1 second? He laughed. Dabi's game improved significantly, and he didn't miss one spike. After each set, he'd glance over to see if you were still there. You were, and he smiled smugly to himself. I've piqued her interest. As the game ended, you ducked back out of sight and headed for the school gates, but not before a voice interrupted you from behind. Oi, you're not even going to come and say hi? The voice asked. You shuddered, recognising who it was immediately. Oh, damn it, did he see me watching? Dabi jogged towards you as you turned to face him. You liked what you saw? He asked with a cheeky grin. You're alright, you said dismissively as you looked away with disinterest. Alright? Only alright? You wouldn't have stayed for the whole game if I was only alright, he commented, giving you a crooked smile. I know you like me. As if, you scoffed, looking back at him sharply. Get back to your boyfriends already. You spun on your heels and marched away. Dabi watched you go, chuckling to himself and wiping sweat from his brow. I like this chick. She's got bite. Bye, babe. See you tomorrow, he called out after you. You turned around and flipped him the bird. He laughed. Later that night, you were lying on the couch, absent-mindedly flicking through TV channels, when suddenly your phone rang. An unknown number. Usually you didn't pick up unknown numbers, but you had nothing else to do, so why not? Hello? You said curiously as you answered the phone. Hey, baby girl, what's happening? The voice on the other end asked. Who is this? You asked with furrowed brows as you sat up. It's your boyfriend, the voice replied. Wait, is this Dabi? You asked. Oh, you remember me, and you connected me when I mentioned boyfriend, so that means that I must be your boyfriend, and it's Dabi, not Darby, he replied hurriedly, before you could get a word in. You can call me Daddy if you want. I won't be calling you anything, asswipe. How did you get my number? You yelled into the receiver. Dabi with the stalker Riz. Stay tuned for chapter 2 coming tomorrow. I'll see you then.